Hello, and a very warm welcome to my little cottage garden in the east of England. June has been a bit of a blur for me. It's hard to believe that July will soon be here, and in another 2 weeks we'll be halfway through the summer. Each year there comes a moment in summertime when I feel like the garden starts to look like it has passed its best before date. The flowers that looked so vibrant and pretty in May and early June start to look tired and spent in the dry summer heat. This year I feel like the hot, dry spring has brought the garden to that tipping point a bit earlier than usual. I like to leave spent foliage and flowers to die back naturally where possible, but this does mean that the garden can look a bit messy at this time of year. When I started gardening here 4 years ago, my focus was very much on late winter and spring interest in the garden. But in the last 2 years, I've started adding in plants that flower in the summertime. And most of what I've introduced are perennials that will last a few years, but it does take them a while to get established. So it will take a few seasons to get a good balance of spring and summer and eventually autumn interest in the garden. In the meantime, I plant a few annual flowers each year just to help bring the much needed color. I grew sweet peas from seed this year, and it's absolutely true what they say about sweet peas. The more you pick, the more they flower. I can hardly keep up at this point. The heat and lack of rain seems to be getting to the apple tree. It drops fruit each year, but this year the drop seems to be lasting longer than usual. There's so much fruit on the floor, and I keep picking it up and putting it into the compost heap. There's still lots of fruit on the tree, so even with the drop, we'll have more apples than we can use. I was a bit surprised to find that some of the apples are already turning red. I don't know if this is due to the weather as well. The bottom half of my garden always gets a bit wild in the summer. I call it my chaos garden, but there's order in the chaos. And although for the rest of the garden it might look like it's past its best before date, this part of the garden is just getting started. My vegetable beds are in this wilder part of the garden. In the first bed I planted mainly onions and radishes. The onions seem to be doing okay. Now that the days are getting shorter, they should start to bulk up and will be ready to harvest in August or September. Some of the onions are growing flowers or scapes, and this will make the center of the onion bulb tough and fibrous, which I don't want. So I cut the scapes off. These will go in a stir fry. They're really tasty and have a mild oniony flavor. The radishes are all flowering now, and some of them have started to develop seed pods. I grow radishes more for the seed pods than I do for the roots. I pick them and I eat them mostly as a snack, but I also put them in salads and stir fries. Radish leaves are edible too. I use them mostly in sandwiches, the same way I would use lettuce. In the second vegetable bed, I'm growing beans. So far, the beans seem to be doing well. They're flowering and there are lots of pollinators. So in a few weeks, I should have bean pods. Underneath the beans, I'm growing a mix of sweet potatoes and main crop potatoes. Both of these seem to be doing quite well. Earlier in the year, I planted early potatoes in buckets, and it's going to be interesting to see how the ones in buckets compare with the ones I planted in the ground. The ones in buckets are on the left, and their leaves are lighter and a lot more yellowish than the ones in the ground. But I don't know if that has to do with the nutrients in the compost or if it's just a sign that the early potatoes are almost ready to harvest. There are lots of butterflies around the vegetable patch. And a lot of them are cabbage white butterflies that usually lay their eggs on my brassicas. But I haven't planted any brassicas this year, and I'm a bit worried now that the butterflies won't have anywhere to reproduce. I did plant some nasturtiums, which are also good for cabbage white caterpillars, but they've been really slow to get going, perhaps because of how dry it has been. Speaking of caterpillars, does anyone know what sort of caterpillars eat rose plants? This rose plant came from a cutting given to me by a neighbor, and I only put it in the ground this spring. And I noticed this week that it was looking a little worse for wear. When I took a closer look, I found that its leaves were being stripped by these little green caterpillars. If you know what they are, please let me know in the comments. Also in the chaos garden, the blackberries are coming along nicely and it looks like I'll have loads of blackberries this year. Some are already starting to ripen. So far my tomatoes are thriving and they've started to set fruit. So I'm excited for tomatoes a little later in the season. It's time to start giving the tomato plant some extra nutrients. My pepper plants haven't fared quite as well as the tomatoes. First off, they were badly attacked by snails who apparently like to eat the bark of pepper seedlings. So the snails rasped off the bark of several of the seedlings, and this slowly killed them. And then, in an attempt to keep the remaining seedlings away from the snails, I put them up on the plastic greenhouse shelf, only for it to break a few days later, and several of my pepper plants were too badly damaged to save. So right now I probably have about 6 or 7 bell pepper plants, only one of which looks like it's about to set fruit. But I'll wait and see. You win some, you lose some. It's all part of the joy of gardening. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching my video. And thank you for all your support with your likes, your comments, and your subscriptions. I'll be away for most of July, and so I will sadly have to take a break from filming videos, but I hope to be back in August with new and improved content for you. Take care and have a lovely summer.